good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always, with me on this very cold day is Mr. Jake Peters. We are PS This Is Awesome. We're a PlayStation podcast, and this is episode 255. This is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get on with our show, I want to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. And if you want to make fun of our trophy lists on the PlayStation Network, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. And as always, you can write us at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. And most importantly, don't forget to share this show with all your gaming friends and make sure you leave comments and rate the podcast as you see fit. And as a quick reminder, this is a video podcast as well, or a video cast, or whatever you want to call it. So you can watch us do this exact podcast, if you prefer, on our YouTube channel. And if you're new or if you're a longtime listener, I just want to make sure you all know that we have a Patreon, and you can support this podcast for $1 a month. You can join our $1 Patreon tier, and it's called the one and only $1 Club. There's not a whole lot you can get for $1 in this world these days, so we will gladly take it off your hands. Head over to www.patreon.com/psthisisawesome, and you get to become a $1 patron. And in return, sometimes you get early episodes, and we will definitely mail you a free die-cut vinyl sticker in the mail and give you a shout-out on the show for being a member of the one and only $1 Club. So with that out of the way, Jake, how are you doing today?
Fucking horrible. Right now, we are, if you haven't heard of Winter Storm Elliott, we are currently receiving Elliott fully in the rectum as hard as fucking possible. It is so goddamn cold here. I think the last time I checked the weather, it was -3 actual temperature, and I think with the wind chill, it's like -30.
Yeah.
So it is so fucking cold, and I live in a really old house. And I live
-5
on.
right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I live on the east side of a large lake, which, if you didn't know, wind goes from west to east. So it is super windy at my house on a good day. And right now, dude, the wind is blowing so hard. This morning I got up and I was dicking around or whatever, and I came into my computer room, actually right next to where I'm sitting right now, and I was like, why the fuck is the floor wet?
What?
And I looked, and the wind was blowing so hard that snow was literally coming through the window.
That's amazing.
Like through the cracks, like into the house, and then just like making everything that it landed on wet. So I had to like grab all these towels and like tape off like all around the window and shit to like keep it. To be fair, like I said, I live in an old house, so there's a lot of like cracks and crevices and shit like that. That's just, you know, that stuff gets through. And yeah, my addition is got a lot of big windows and is not connected to my main heating system. So currently my addition right now is 55 degrees.
Yeah.
And my main house is able to stay warm, but I've been doing a lot of stuff in the basement today.
Yeah.
And my basement is very cold. So
Okay.
long story short, it's fucking freezing here. But other than that, I can't really complain too bad. Yesterday I left work early because I wanted to get all of my grocery shopping done, all of like, if I didn't really need to get anything else for Christmas, but I grabbed a couple little knickknacks while I was out, because we're hosting my in-laws tomorrow, and then we're going to it's Friday, by the way, and then we're going to my family's house on Sunday. So I was like, I knew this storm was coming. I didn't know how bad it was going to be, but I've heard it was going to be pretty bad. So I was like, I want to get home Thursday, and I don't want to leave my fucking house until Sunday. Because if I don't have to, because the roads and the weather and everything are so bad. So I've been lucky. Today I haven't left my house. Hopefully tomorrow I won't have to leave my house at all. But other than that, I mean, I can't really complain. It's just I hope this isn't like a harbinger for what this winter is going to be like, because if so, I'm going to be fucking broke trying to heat my house. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Did you guys lose any power or anything yet?
No, thank God, but knocking on the old wooden desk here, because if we lose power,
You lose your heat.
Yeah, I mean, I have some. If I needed to, I could pull some wizardry to ignite my furnace if I had to, but yeah, not being able to use space heaters and shit, dude. My house would be cold in like fucking 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not even
it's
kidding.
Really
if
windy.
We lost our heat,
that's the thing. It's really windy out. So
yeah. So
yeah.
Thankfully, we've been okay, even though we've got a lot of suspended power lines out here. Our power's pretty robust. Knock on one again. Like I said, we haven't really had too much trouble with it. We usually don't. But I know that, like, you know, it just sucks that it's this weekend because a lot of people are traveling today. I know I was reading an article on, I think it was the Weather Channel or something like that, today, that said that there was a big 50-car pileup on 80 today between Cleveland and Toledo, and I think in the last day, I think a total of 11 people have died in car accidents because of the storm. So like, it fucking sucks. So if you are in the northeast region of the United States, and I think most of our listeners probably are, just stay home. It's not worth it. I mean, if you've got Christmas shit going on, and you could wait till Sunday. I think the weather will clear up by then, but don't run out and get that fucking stick of butter or whatever if you don't have to, because it's just not worth it. I mean, to each his own. Do what you want to do. I'm not telling you to do this or do that, but
put somebody else's life in peril. Like, just order like delivery. Have someone like Paul Dean just deliver a pizza to your house. Paul's basement went up by land. Yeah, just have him deliver pizza. And then, if it would suck if Paul died, but if your delivery driver gets in a bender, then it's not on your insurance, Dude,
I had a UPS guy stopped at my house today.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
And I was like, bro, good on you, man. Because a lot of times, like, they'll just like cancel deliveries or delay them if the weather's too bad. But I don't know if it's just because they're pushing because of the Christmas or whatever. But and the thing is that like I felt bad because what they delivered wasn't even like it wasn't important. It was like we subscribe to like a weekly food thing. Yeah. Like if you're familiar with Blue Apron or something like that. And he was just like dropping our box of food off. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's cool. Like, you dropped my food off, but like, I hope, you don't get into a car accident delivering this shit to me. Like, I would feel so bad.
At least it's food. Like, I just installed we have a Ring doorbell now. And there's a long story here. Are you done with how you're doing today? Because I've got a quick story.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't mean to interject. But I'm going to piggyback on what you're pigtail. I'm going to donkey tail on what you're talking about. So yeah, the UPS driver came to my place. So I had gotten a Ring doorbell because we didn't have a doorbell in our house for a very long time. Actually, since we've owned it, we've had doorbells. I bought a really cheap wireless doorbell at one point and just mounted it out there, and then the batteries died and got corroded or whatever. And the chime quit working. So I was like, you know what? There's been a few issues in our neighborhood with people's cars getting busted into and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get one of these Ring doorbells. I got it on Black Friday, and I like the idea of it. I also don't like the idea of it at the same time, like, because it's just one more thing that I feel like I need to look at, like when it goes off, like, oh, there's movement or there's blah 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 blah. You can fine tune the sensitivities and whatnot. But so I was kind of messing around with it. And funny story, my father knew I had installed this, and I was down in the studio down here, and Chelsea was out, and it's like, there's movement at your front door, and I'm like, what? And and I pull it out. I'm real excited to see what the hell it is. I'm looking at my phone, and I got the live feed, and I see what looks to be Santa Claus walking to my house, like to the front door, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is either a really creative way to do a home robbery, or like it's got to be a family friend, right? One or the other, or maybe a neighbor just having fun, or carolers or something. But this was like a couple days ago, 2 days ago, and I'm like, this is weird. And the guy's got a full beard. He's got the Santa Claus hat, the outfit. And I'm like, this is really weird. So I'm looking at it. And as I'm looking at it, he goes, "Are you being naughty?" And I was like, what the fuck is this? This is so weird. This is the first thing my Ring video ever picked up. And I'm like, oh shit, that's Skip. I know this guy. So, and then I ran to the door, and it was he and his wife. And they were with my parents, who had purposefully parked away from the house so I didn't see their car. Thinking that I would just think, oh, Santa Claus is visiting or something. But I was like, my nervous brain was like, this is like some sort of weird home invasion. Like this guy dressed like Santa Claus, and his wife was in the back, and they showed up. They were doing some sort of function for kids, and he thought it'd be funny to show up and spook me or whatever. And it worked. But so here's the next news point, not news point. Here's my next little quip. And yeah, number one, the weather does suck. Number two is UPS driver shows up, and I had ordered, because I've been on this Cormac McCarthy kick. He wrote a couple screenplays, and I didn't have any of those. So they're really little, like they're little books, little paperback books. But I had seen them on my using my Barnes and Noble discount, right? And I ordered them, and I don't care when they come, but yeah, he showed up in front of my house. And granted, we live on a hill and the brick roads. He shows up in the UPS truck. He comes out, puts it down there. I catch it on the Ring video. And I'm excited to get it, but like it's really inconsequential to Christmas or anything, so he didn't need to deliver that. He's got these 2 huge boxes with him, and he's like trying to go to the neighbor's house, and he does the thing where you kind of drop it, but there's a chance you're gonna still catch it. And I see his legs like kick out from behind him, and he's like juggling this thing. And I'm like, man, I hope to God my doorbell didn't shut off, because I want to see this, because it's got a really big peripheral. It didn't catch it, but I saw it in person, and it was really funny. And he did drop the package and gave it to my neighbor. So if she complains that something's broken, I'll be like, yeah, he really tried to catch that. But and he was moving really fast, and surprisingly, there was a UPS driver and a delivery guy inside the truck also. Like the driver stayed seated and the dude jumped out. It was really weird. It might have been like just a family member. Like fuck, I gotta go make some deliveries. Son, you want to jump in? Who knows? I don't know what the story was. I've never seen UPS have 2 people in one truck. It was interesting. Maybe it's a safety thing. I don't know. But yeah, so that happened, and I'm about 30 or 40 pages left on the passenger, speaking of Cormac McCarthy. So I've been reading that. We got called out of work. I got a call late last night that they were just going to close our office, which is awesome. So I didn't have to go in today. So my holiday weekend started early. It's really about it. The only other thing I can say that I did is Pennsylvania has a online lottery site, right? And I'm not a gambler, but this time of year I'll buy tickets for people for stocking stuffers and stuff, right? And they must be doing a promotion, and it was like, if you create an online account and just make a deposit, it's like, so you can actually gamble on your phone now. I didn't know that, but it's like, if you make an online account and make a deposit, they give you $5 in cash. So I just put $10 on this account on PayPal. They gave me $5. I threw $5 at like this online game a minute ago, and I won $15 and I cashed out. So like, it was awesome. Like I literally made $20 and did nothing. It was cool. So I like 2 times I bet like two $1 bets. The second was a $15 winner. And I used their 5, so maybe I made $19. My bad. But anyways, it was awesome. So 20 extra bucks for me, and that pays for some of the actual lottery tickets I bought to put in stockings. So it's a wash. It's good. Yeah. So anyways, there's a tip for you, Jake. Deposit $10, create a PA lottery account. They'll give you $5. Use that fucking free $5, and maybe you'll win some money, and then just take your $10 back. It's fucking awesome.
Nice.
Anyways, let's talk about games that you and I are playing. I was very proud of the fact that the only PS Plus whatever essentials, not essentials, the next one. What is it? Extra game.
Extra.
That I had gotten was Hot Wheels. Wheel of Fortune. Sorry. Man, I'm really off my rocker right now. But that game Chorus really had my attention for a while. It's like a space game, right? You've seen Chorus, right?
Yeah, it's like a space shooter. You're like in a ship kind of flying around third person.
Yeah.
Wrecking shop. Yeah.
So it's a PS Plus extra game, and I downloaded it. Two quick things I want to say about it. Number one, the game's fine, but it's not so good that I feel obligated to play it. I went through the first couple missions. I'm like, I get what this is. It handles fine. It's a AA game, probably. It's not like super high detail. It reminds me of this old PC game I used to play called Terra Nova, but that was with mechs, and this is like the same thing but with spaceships. And it's fine. It's fine, but I'm gonna delete it. But the thing that it did was it does that thing where as it's installing, it's like 15 more minutes before you can start the application, even though it won't be fully downloaded. You can start it, right? So
yeah,
I do this on Chorus. I get in the game, I start playing it because it allows me, even though it's not fully downloaded, I get to a point, and it's like, and it wasn't very far in, and it was like, you have to wait for the rest of the game to finish downloading to progress. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just leave my PlayStation on. I leave the room. It's going to take like another, 25 minutes to download the rest of the game. PlayStation goes into rest mode. I open it back up. Chorus is downloaded. And it made me restart from the beginning. So I had to go through the tutorial all again and like the first two missions. And I was like, this is annoying. Like, I would have rather have just waited because I don't like to replay the same shit. So it kind of like left a bad taste in my mouth. And I wonder if a lot of those games do that, where they let you play early before the whole thing's downloaded, but it doesn't somehow save your progress. Because it bugged out a little bit when I got back into it. It was like it picked up where I left off, but it was like I couldn't go forward anymore. Like it just wouldn't let me go. So I had to turn off the game, and then I was like, I'll turn it back on. Hopefully it'll kick right back on. But no, it started me at the very beginning. And I was like, this sucks. So anyways, the game's fine, but I don't know. I'm glad I utilized my my extra a little bit more than just Wheel of Fortune. And I plan to get Stray up there next and give that a whirl. And hopefully that resonates with me. But I'm going to find real quick that having not essentially paid for these games independently, that's going to be a lot easier to just say pass once I get them downloaded if they don't strike a chord with me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I like that or not, because like I feel like I have a very particular taste in games, and I feel like, if you pay $15 for something on sale, you're more likely to see it through than just like fucking download it and be like, yeah, like this course game was fine. I probably would really enjoy it if I just played it, but like I'm ready to move on already. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's one of the maybe downfalls of having access to so many games at once. I don't know. And I've been playing The Witcher 3.
I mean that's a thing. Like even with like Game Pass, it's a big thing where it's like, okay, people play more games, but they finish less games. It's like people just like play random shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it is cool because it allows you to try new things without having some sort of like obligation or having to worry about I don't know, regretting your purchase or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't feel that desire to continue. Whereas like, let's say, you got into Chorus and let's say you get through a couple of missions, you may end up really loving it. And maybe you would have pushed that much farther if you had paid for it.
Even like
but
$10
because you didn't,
for it or
you're just like,
yeah.
Fuck it. Yeah. So it is an interesting thing to think about for sure.
You feel that financial pool to continue to play through it or trudge through the thing that you purchased, because if not, then it just feels like you fucking just threw money into the ocean, right? Like you have to get something for the money you paid. But with with extra, you have 100 other fucking games I can try. And it's like, if this isn't for me, great. So that's a benefit, and I think it's almost a detriment. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully Stray will strike a chord with me, and I'll just play. I probably will just play that because I want to play it. but it's going to be
It's
tough.
really good.
It's gonna be,
Personally think it's really good.
It'll be tough to do it with Charlie in the house because, I mean, he freaks out when I play Ratchet and Clank. So, I mean, he's not going to be able to watch a cat walk around. It's just not going to work. So he's got to be in another room if I play that game. Anyways.
You should just get rid of your dog.
No. That'll never happen. That'll never happen. I'll put a baby gate up maybe, and he just won't be able to come into the room. But even if he hears it, he'll panic. Like if there's meowing and stuff in the game, he'll freak out. Yeah. I've been trying to play The Witcher, and it's hard to play because a lot of it's on horseback. And when he sees a horse, and he's never seen a horse in real life. So my guess is he thinks horses are like really tiny. Because that's how they look on a screen, right? He probably thinks like a horse, like the regular size of a horse is like the size of like a fucking large mouse or something, right? Because that's the perspective that he has of them. And he thinks they're real because he tries to like jump at him and like, you know, it's funny. Yeah, dogs just don't understand. But the idea of miniature horses is hilarious. Like that small, you know? I don't know. He has no clue. Jake, what are you playing?
I mean, God of War, I'm just tinkering around. I beat the game, so I'm not like doing anything. I mean, I've just been going around playing doing the Berserker gravestones and some of the other little things here and there. And nothing really much. I mean, I'm trying to mostly decide what I'm playing next. I downloaded that game. I haven't played it yet, but I downloaded that game High on Life that came out on Xbox. And so I'm thinking about trying that. It's made by if you haven't seen it, I don't think it's a timed exclusive, so I don't think it may be 3 or 6 months or something before it comes out on PlayStation. But it's a first person shooter where like all of the guns and stuff talk, like they have they're like animate creatures, and the game is by the creator of Rick and Morty, so it's got a lot of like comedy and stuff to it. I've heard mixed things about it, but I've heard enough positive stuff about it that makes me want to try it, so I might give that a shot. I was him-hawing between, because originally I was like, okay, I'm just going to jump into Callisto Protocol, which I do really want to do, but I was also curious about High on Life, and whenever I was like looking, it's like, okay, well, Callisto Protocol is $70, and High on Life is ostensibly free with my subscription to Game Pass. Maybe I'll just try High on Life first, because if I don't like it, I can always, pay for Callisto Protocol and play that.
Right.
But I'm still kind of up in the air about what I want to do. So I might still buy Callisto Protocol just because I heard it's relatively short. And so that is kind of appealing to me. I love, especially after a game like freaking God of War, which took me a fucking month and a half to beat. I would love to be able to play a game that takes me just a couple of weeks. And so even if it costs me $70, which is not a big deal, I guess. I mean, it is a lot of money, but I've got like a shitload of fucking PSN cash in my wallet. So it's not like I would have to like pay out of pocket for it, I guess. But at the same time,
you're saving up for Dead Space.
And I don't know. I've played Dead Space. I love Dead Space, but I've played it. I'm more curious about like what is Callisto Protocol because it's new. I might still buy Dead Space, but I don't. Do we know if Dead Space is full price? Is it $70?
I'm sure it is. It's an entire remake. Yeah.
Because I mean, if it's $70, I mean, I own it on PC. I could just play it there if I want to play it again. Unless the remake is like literally that much better, which I don't know. So I'd have to wait until it comes out to see some reviews and stuff. But if I'm going to play Callisto Protocol, I kind of want to do it pretty soon because starting in January, there's a lot of shit coming out in 2023. So I really need to kind of get on it, I guess. I don't know. I'm still kind of up in the air, but
figure it out, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. 70 seems, I don't want to say it seems high. I think it seems reasonable for Callisto Protocol, but it's one of those games that looks awesome, but there's no immediate need for me to want to play it. Sorry, I want to play it, but there's no immediate need to play it. Because I know a game like that is just going to go on sale here eventually. And if I can save $20 on it, I will. But yeah, I mean, it's not a game that's getting heavily spoiled as far as I know, and it's really pretty much off the radar already, and it's definitely going to be off the radar as soon as Dead Space comes out, and it's going to, you know what I mean? It's just going to kind of like fade away a little bit, and that's fine, but I think unless like you're really, really wanting to play it, I would suggest at this point, give it a month. I bet you it goes on sale. I bet you can get it for $50, you know, for the PS5.
It's hard to say. The problem is you know, in a month we're gonna start getting some shit. I mean, the PSVR 2 comes out in February.
Oh,
so
I got to play that Pennsylvania lottery a little more then.
yeah, I mean,
that's when you get charged.
I mean, I'm looking at like the list now of shit that's coming out. I mean, if you just want to talk about January, you've got Persona 4 and Persona 3. Persona 4 Golden and Persona 3 are coming to PS4, which, I mean, I've played Persona 4. I'm curious about Persona 3, but it's not something that I'm like anxious to play. But I would definitely play Persona 4 again. It's such a good game.
I've heard it's really good.
Does your brother have a Vita?
Yeah.
He does have a Vita? Mm-hmm. So he's probably played Persona 4.
Oh, yeah. He loved it.
It's so good. And Dead Space comes out in January. Mm-hmm. Then you Forspoken comes out in January.
Yeah, I'm not interested after that demo.
Then you've got, February, you've got Hogwarts Legacy, which comes out February 10th. I mean, unless something changes, I'm pretty into that. And then, you know, you've got Atomic Heart. You've got the PSVR with Call of the Mountain and shit like that. Plus when PSVR launches, you also have Resident Evil Village will be there at launch.
And then the Man of Medan, whatever the fuck roller coaster thing is.
Octopath Traveler 2 comes out in February. Destiny 2 Lightfall comes out in February.
And Octopath in VR is going to be sick. Nah, I'm just kidding. Dude, they should make a game like that in VR. That would be awesome.
It would be pretty interesting for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well,
anyway,
you guys know how the show goes. Up next, we're going to give you some listener feedback and maybe a few questions or comments from pretty much the patrons. But these were all left on YouTube. And Josh Peters writes in 3 days ago. We're recording this again, just so the listeners didn't catch that. We're recording this on Friday, so this is before Christmas. But we wanted you guys to have a Christmas episode on Monday. But Josh writes in, he says, in response to our big, long-winded discussion about games being too long, possibly, and we had two people write in about this. Josh says, in my opinion, the only real justification for a long game is a complex story and world building. I think it would be hard to shorten the main story in God of War without losing some important character development. But I might be a bit biased since I played the game in dad mode. I found most of the side quests at least provided some world building instead of just being a pointless fetch quest. But I basically check out of a game as soon as the credits roll on the main story. I considered going back for the platinum, but decided to start Control instead. I've got two things to say about that. Good fucking luck with the story in Control, because it's fucking confusing. The gameplay's cool. I hope you enjoy it. And God of War, man, yeah, the platinum. I just want to talk about the platinum real quick. LJ got a hold of me and said he was trying the platinum, but he had to beat the last whatever the thing is, Jake, that you said you went back to try to do a little bit of those.
Berserker King, the Berserker King or whatever. Yeah.
He only had like 8 or 9 trophies left to get the platinum, and like he sent me a message and he was just like, fuck this. I think I'm just going to give up on platinum. I can't beat this guy. Like, so good luck, Jake. I don't know what difficulty LJ was playing on, but apparently that fucking last boss is the equivalent of the last Valkyrie in God of War 1 and is a total bitch to beat. So, dude,
I still have the game on normal mode, and if I was gonna do if I do do the platinum, I'm just gonna fucking drop it to easy and just wreck shop. Because I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm super good at the game, but I've gotten, God of War. The one thing that I do like about the combat is that, and we won't get too deep into it because we're gonna have a spoiler cast here this coming week, And I was just I'll have to talk to my brother this weekend about his gameplay, because I wonder if he did like that. Like when he says rolled credits, does he mean like the first time you get credits or the second time you get credits? Because I'm curious if he did the second thing. So
are you talking? Yeah, we'll have to talk about it in the spoiler cast, because I'm not even sure that I rolled credit twice. I don't know if I did.
Yeah,
I think I did.
I'm sure you did. If you did the thing after,
like the main thing they keep hinting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, so anyway, now I fucking lost my train of thought. Oh, if I was gonna do the platinum, I would do it in easy mode, because the thing that's cool about God of War, the thing I like about the combat is that if you really pay attention when you're fighting the enemies, you can learn their patterns and stuff. The thing that sucks about the Berserkers, and LJ can probably he could probably appreciate this, is that their attacks get faster and faster as you get their health down. Mm-hmm. So like you learn like, oh, when they act like this, they're going to do this attack, so you need to dodge this way, or oh, I can block this, or oh, I need to do this then that whenever they do this
shield bash or whatever.
But it's like they like the red attacks that you can't block, you have to dodge them. As you knock their health down more, they start like pounding you faster and faster, and you have to have better and better reaction time as you go. So it does get challenging. Now I've only done I think 2 or 3 of the Berserker headstones,
right?
So I'm not sure how much more difficult the king at the end is, but I would be curious to know what it's like, because that's obviously one of the things you have to do if you want to get the platinum. And I still like, I have to do some pondering if I want to do the platinum or not, because the thing is that I still really love playing the game. It feels so good and it's so fun to play. The combat's so awesome. But yeah, at the same time, like, I kind of want to start something else.
Yeah, dude, that's where I was.
But I still like. I wish I could play like 2 games at the same time, because I would love to keep kind of chipping away at God of War while playing something else. But my brain doesn't work that way. So, I don't know, man. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Well, played by Genshin Impact, played by Ken, wrote in. And he said, a lot of the same sentiments I think that I had about just games being long for the sake of being long. He had a lot to write. And, he's been a mainstay in the podcast now as far as a contributor to feedback, which I appreciate. And I do like his little YouTube handle. It's his little logos. Looks like it was definitely graphic designed by himself. So very cool. But he writes, I feel I could easily write 10,000 words regarding the length of games these days, but I won't subject you to that. So thank you for not doing that. But he does say, in short, I watched an interesting video recently that looked at a period when games were adding more and more modes, as having a variety of modes had become a metric that games were reviewed against. This meant games started adding more and more modes just to tick that box, even if those modes weren't fully fleshed out or feature complete. I believe the current era of games are facing a similar issue, but rather than modes, games are being judged by how many hours their campaigns have to offer. And as such, a lot of filler or padding is added to allow them to say, our game has 40-hour stories, has a 40-hour story, or whatever the number they're trying to hit. Somehow we've ended up in a place where more is seen as better rather than quality over quantity. And the reasons for all of that is where I could easily launch into 10,000 words on why and how we got there. Long story short, I don't like it. And he apologized as a busy week. He's going to check his PlayStation wrap up, and he did leave that. And he did give us some leeway. He said, don't feel bad if you guys miss an episode over Christmas. We've got other things to do sometimes, especially around the holidays. I appreciate you giving us a leave of absence, but we are not taking it this time, and we are doing the podcast for you.
So, yeah, fuck you, Ken.
Yeah, so this is your...
We're going to keep doing the podcast on Christmas.
Yeah, because we fucking hate Christmas, actually.
Just kidding.
Nah, yeah, but no, thanks for being understanding for sure, dude. But yeah, you have a nice Christmas as well. We hope that the holidays treat you well as far as the other listeners. And just a real quick, because we did talk about, I did ask people to put in our Wrapped. His top 5 games were DayZ, Gran Turismo 7, Project Cars 2, Warframe, and Assetto Corsa Competizione. I'm guessing.
So he's a car guy. He likes racing
definitely
games.
A car
That's
guy.
cool.
Somehow we have a lot of car guys that like our podcast, which is crazy.
But his favorite genre is first-person shooter, which is interesting.
Doesn't make sense. Yes.
And he even has a comment there that says, "I guess DayZ caused that, but otherwise, I would otherwise have it to be racing," which is 394 really, trophies. Really cool.
So congrats on all the trophies. And I just want to comment also on the car guys, because One Black Talon has a logo that your brother had to comment on, and your brother had to chime in on a comment that he wrote, and he says it looks like someone is a fan of Eagle Talons. One of the hosts used to drive one. And then he had to say, "Hey, listen, I'm not Jake, by the way." And One Black Time was like, "I misread Josh as Jake. Sorry." Like, you don't have to apologize, dude. Josh is cool. He's just letting you know. Don't mistake.
I was gonna comment because this is the first time that I've noticed that his handle, his photo or whatever, is the Eagle, the vehicle manufacturer Eagle's logo, because I did have a 1998 Eagle Talon, and I loved that car.
This is a car podcast, apparently. It's crazy.
The fucking motor mounts rusted out on it, so I had to get rid of it. But I did really like that car. It was a two-tone silver and black one.
I didn't know that.
But I thought that was kind of interesting, because I've never met anyone else that has had an Eagle car. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, joined forces. But so thanks for writing in, Play by Ken. And I agree. I just want quality over quantity. And then I guess where I'm at, Jake, what can we do as gamers to help push that agenda? So like these companies don't feel obligated to give us like 40 or fucking 50 hour single player content, like story games. Like, what do? They say to like vote with your wallet. They say to like put your money where your interests are. But like a lot of these games, my opinion, I'll let you get to it. A lot of these games, I feel like for instance, God of War to me felt too long. If it was like 5 to 10 hours shorter, it would have been fucking perfectly succinct with me. I get the story beats, and a lot of that is up to the player. I had a long conversation with my brother about this recently. We need to get him on the podcast. Now, it's going to be really hard to do, but I need to get him on the podcast because he's very knowledgeable about games, role-playing games specifically, and we had a very long discussion about this, and his input was, well, dude, you have a choice not to do the side missions. You know, they're giving you extra content, and that's up to you as the gamer. Like, they're giving you the main story, and you know what the main story is, so you don't have to do all that. You can just mainline it and say you've been done. So he goes, it's kind of like a gamer issue in a way. His opinion, not an issue, but like, ultimately, because it's in the form of a video game, we have the ability to tailor that content to what we want out of it, right? They're saying, okay, so his stance was, here's a video game, here's the main story, here's all this extra fucking bullshit in an open world, like, say, The Witcher, and it's like, if you want to play all this extra shit, it's there for you. We've done that for you. But if you just want to go through the main game, just do the main story quest. We break it down and we tell you what to do to get through the main game. But then, like, people like me have fucking issues, and I want to just complete it all before I put it down. So maybe it is a me issue. Maybe I just need to get over the fact that, like, you know, games aren't made the way they used to be made, right? Like, you didn't used to have games this big. So, like, maybe the older we get, the more valuable my time becomes. And it's not that the game doesn't necessarily respect my time. It's just giving me a lot of shit to do, and then I just need to figure out how to sort through it that I can move on with and I'm comfortable with. Jake, what's your opinion?
I disagree a little, at least like 50% disagreement. And what I mean by that is that your brother comes from a unique kind of background in that he loves JRPGs, which are historically long.
Right.
So to him, it's like, oh, if you mainline fucking God of War and beat it in 27 hours, you know, that's reasonable. But like, to me, the thing is that there, in my opinion, and we'll talk about this more in the spoiler cast, I don't want to get too deep, but in my opinion, they could have easily cut 5 hours out of this game.
I agree.
From the main story,
I agree.
not side quests, not anything.
Yeah.
Just the main story. And it's the same issue I had with The Last of Us Part 2. That game was way too fucking long.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, but the thing is that what's going on, in my opinion, is that there's this delicate balance going on where gamers are becoming more entitled and games are also becoming more expensive to make. So what they're doing is that they're like, they're trying to make it feel like you've justified your $70 purchase, if that makes any sense. Because gamers historically, like, if you look at like a lot of the reviews for the Callisto Protocol, people are just bitching about the fact that the game is 10 hours long. And it's like, but someone like me looks at that and I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's a pro. Yeah, that's a win for me.
And here's the thing that I think gets lost in the weeds. And when I said, and I do not mean this, I'm trying not to sound too insulting or speak in a pejorative manner or anything like that. When I say that, like, when I talk about gamer entitlement and that people think that, like, oh, you know, they're upset that games cost more money now, and it's like, well, I want to be able to have a game that fucking takes 150 hours to beat because I spent $70 on it,
right? When
I can go play Fortnite forever and not pay a dime,
or Warzone, right?
Or whatever, yeah. And it's like, I get that, but at the same time, I think that's something that a lot of people tend to forget about is that gaming is it's a luxury hobby. It's not like, you know, it's not like a
Jake, it's an esport. I don't know where you've been.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yeah, but like, I don't know. It seems kind of weird to me that people just, because of the, I think what it boils down to is that because of the way that phone gaming has gone, because of things like Game Pass, because of all this shit, people, I mean, and to a lesser extent, PlayStation Plus. I mean, PlayStation Plus almost kind of started it on console with their free game collection way back in the day. I don't know if you remember when PS Plus first started, like after the lock or the blackout. Like, I think it was 2012 was when they started like that huge game collection they had. When I say huge, it was like 30 games, and they would rotate a few games out every month before it went down to like 3 games a month or whatever. And because of all of this, now everyone's like, oh, well, you know, I could just, and like the Netflix model, it's like, oh, I just pay, you know, fucking $10 a month and I can have as many games as I fucking want.
Right.
And whereas, like, I don't know. I really don't know how to articulate it without sounding like a total fucking douche. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's like, I'm not trying to gatekeep it all.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I get that I'm speaking from a place of privilege. Like, I can afford to pay $70 for a game. So it's not as big of a deal for me to pay $70 for a game that only lasts 10 hours. To me, my time is worth way fucking more than the money that I spent on that game. So, like, for example, to me, my $70 purchase of God of War would be more valuable if it was 20 hours long instead of 30 hours long, because I would have gotten 10 hours of my personal time back and still gotten the same, I say the same in quotes, experience out of it.
Right.
If they had just trimmed the fat on the story a little bit. And like I said, same thing with The Last of Us. It's like they're establishing this new trend where, think about like the Uncharted days where you could beat Uncharted the first couple games. You could beat them in 10 hours, something like that. You know, especially if you're familiar with it.
Fantastic games, and they still are.
And then like The Last of Us comes out, and it's a little bit
Uncharted
longer.
4 came out. Jesus.
Yeah, and it's like okay, it's like 18, 20 hours, and it's like, oh, that felt long, but The Last of Us, every second of that 18 hours of my first playthrough was utilized perfectly, so I had no issues with it. But then like Last of Us Part 2 comes out and it's like fucking 30 hours, 35 hours to beat the story. And then now God of War comes out and it's, 25, 30 hours to beat the main story. If you're not hauling ass. If you're playing it on easy mode and you're hauling ass and you're on New Game Plus,
you're
which
not
it doesn't
doing the
have
side
yet, but it will.
missions and you're just fucking mainlining it.
Yeah, like I'm sure you could beat it in 15, 20 hours if you were really good at the game and you were hauling ass.
A lot of it is cutscene length also, though. Like some of those cutscenes, when you add them all up, there's hours worth of cutscenes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to seem like I'm bitching because I will say that I generally appreciate almost everything about what God of War gave to me.
Yeah.
There's just certain things where I was like, okay, well, we could have probably slimmed this up a little bit.
Well, I think the reason we're talking about God of War, right, is because this is what spawned this whole fucking thing on the podcast, right? Is I was kind of bitching about how like there was post-credit shit to do. And I was like, can't the game just be done? I'm tired of this bullshit. I don't know. We can talk more about God of War later, right?
Yeah.
On the spoiler cast. Let's keep moving. Sorry, Jake. I want you to save what is in the clip for the God of War spoiler cast. Don't give it all to him right now. Make him come back.
Yep.
All right. So here's the next thing. The last thing that we had was One Black Talent did ask. Great question. And when I put all of this on the YouTube channel and I dissect it into the parts, this is all going to be under listener feedback. I'm not breaking this shit up. So you can fucking skip this great conversations if you want. I'm not fucking going in and dialing all these into different things. But One Black Talent says, does YouTube do anything? Parentheses, blocking the video. Do they mute it or make it so you can't monetize it since you are playing your own music at the end of your own video? Just curious. It's a really good question. I'm glad this came up. I have only had issues with this from my own music personally is when we used a Signal Home song once. It got DRM'd, but then I wrote them and I thought this was a long time ago when somehow I posted something with Signal. It might have not even been this. I posted something with my own music on it and it got like fucking stricken. And I fought it and I said, this is my band. And I don't know, but they lifted it or whatever. It hasn't happened with any of my music with The Flood or with One Off by Land. I was in a band called Signal Home and that's when it happened. Sorry, I think I said One Off by Land, but I meant Signal Home. It's a good question. And my music is all under ASCAP, the stuff that I write. I don't get a lot of royalties. I'm not a big shot. Don't make a lot of money doing that. I do get some streaming royalties here and there, but it's mainly from people just visiting my websites and stuff or my band camps and just streaming shit there, or from Amazon streams or whatever, Spotify streams, and you get next to nothing for it. But Spotify did strike one video. As it stands, One Black Talent, we are not even permitted to monetize these videos. We have to have like an insane amount of subscribers to even give us the opportunity to try to monetize the videos. So the fact that there aren't ads on our videos, or at least there shouldn't be, and if there are, we're not getting any dollars from them, isn't because we don't want to put ads on our videos, because I'm sure we could probably try to make a couple dollars if we could, but it's because YouTube actually doesn't even let us because we have so few subscribers. But we do have 2 new subscribers this week, which is awesome. But so I don't really know how that works.
I will say that I think what that has to do with is that Signal Home's music was under a label that was directly tied to Victory Records, right? Which is a publisher that is probably active in the YouTube fucking space with the whole copyright striking thing and all of that. Because you're essentially self-publishing your music, I think that's probably why like you are not actively striking shit down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that the publishers are going out there watching all these videos and striking shit. I just mean like there's probably a level of activity that has to happen from a publisher's point of view for YouTube to go out to like YouTube to like introduce that into the algorithm to shut stuff down, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know if that does make any sense, but it's like,
yeah. Well, so I can go a little bit more into it. So yeah, so with Signal Home, we had actually the label was Carbon Copy Media. They were an imprint label, kind of Victory Records. We were given Sony distribution. So Sony distributed that CD. So you could find it in Best Buy, FYE back in the day. Like it was everywhere. It was worldwide. And yeah, so there's that attachment. But I think the way that they actually, as an independent artist, I use DistroKid, which is a distribution service for all my online music, right? I pay a yearly fee, and then they just throw the stuff everywhere I want it to go, and you guys can stream it on all the things. And then I get a kickback for every time it's streamed throughout the year. It's usually a wash, honestly. Like what I end up paying per year, I'm maybe lucky to get that much back just from streaming. I make more money from actual record sales and CD sales and t-shirt sales. But what a lot of people don't know is there's a code, there's an actual digital code that you can embed and attach to an MP3 file or mainly an MP3 file. It's an ISRC code. And that code can be tracked, and it can get tracked by distributors. So DistroKid, I can tell DistroKid, I can pay a little extra for DistroKid to comb YouTube with some sort of thing that they have, and somehow, even if it's embedded in a video, somehow the thing shows up, right? And they might even do a thing like with what's that program that you can have it listen to music and it tells you what it is?
Oh, I don't know.
It's like a wave identifier, and it can play songs, right? So they have these tools at their disposal. I could ask DistroKid to say, like, listen, fucking go out, try to find where people are playing my fucking music, and hit them with things or make them pay up or whatever. But, like, for me, it doesn't benefit me to do that because I want my shit out there, and I don't really care about the fraction of a penny I get every time it gets played, because the exposure means more to me at this point in my career. I just want people to hear it and enjoy it, right? And hopefully they find me and they come out to a concert, they buy some shit online, and then or tell their friends or tweet it or whatever. That helps me way more than getting the fraction of a penny I'm owed for that stream. So I don't know. It's a great question. It's kind of a hard question to answer deep down, but on the surface, no, we've never really had any issues with putting music at the end of our. My buddy Ryan plays in a band called Signals Midwest. That was a recent episode. I put one of their new songs from the new record out. They're doing very well. They tour the world. They play different places, and I'm buddies with him. And I put his song on. He let me, and that did get stricken. And then YouTube essentially said, "Hey, you can either chop off the end of your video so that song's not playing, or you can just mute it, or you can leave it on here and challenge." And I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking do the challenge. I'll just mute it. Boom. Air chopped it off. We edited it and clipped off the end. So that hurts him, because he wanted it on the podcast, and it sucks when that stuff gets in the way. But I don't know. Jake, did you have anything else? Can we get on with the news?
I don't think so. I mean, to me, it's just like at this point, YouTube is essentially like a fucking. It's like an organism. It just like does whatever it wants, and people just have to abide by it. Nobody understands the algorithm. Nobody understands the fucking copyright shit, and it's so weird that I can sit here and I could literally make the technology is mind-boggling to me, because I could literally sit here and do like a beat for beat fucking cover of Taylor Swift Shake It Out and put it on my fucking YouTube page, and it would be totally fine.
Yeah.
But if I actually put Taylor Swift Shake It Out on my fucking YouTube page, they throw a hissy fit.
Right, the IRS
which is so weird.
It's
so weird that how it all works. I don't understand it. It's really, I understand that, like, that it was the whole thing was essentially created to protect the interests of artists and their creation, but really what it boils down to is just giving rich people more money.
Yeah.
And because it's not like it's not like whenever Signals Midwest fucking got that, thing stricken off of our.
They're not rich. I mean, they're
page.
successful, but they are by no means like living in mansions, dude. Like they've got real jobs.
What it means is not that we were preventing your buddy from getting one fraction of 1 penny for that play. It was that we were preventing his fucking record label from getting one fraction of 1 penny for our fucking play on that pod. And I don't know.
And also keeping all of our listeners from being exposed to their band, right? On YouTube. So
yeah. I mean, you would think that it would be like one of these things where as an artist, you had the ability to, and I promise we'll get back to video games in just a second, but like,
Jesus, this is the Christmas
I would
episode.
think that like, yeah, like you would think that there would be a way where you could, as an artist or even as a record label, be like, okay, this band in particular is in a stage in their career where they can use more exposure than they could this fucking copyright strike shit. So just let it fly. Now, if you're, like I said, just to keep in theme, if you're fucking Taylor Swift, everybody knows you already. So it makes sense to strike people from using your music because you're probably losing
you have more to
thousands and thousands of dollars if you don't do it. But if you're some, let's say Fred Oakman in the Flood, we put a fucking thing on there. It makes more sense to just let people use our music. And then if we get to a certain point, we could flip a switch and say, okay, everybody knows us now. It makes more sense to do this.
It should be up to the artist. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, dude.
Let's talk about video games.
We need to have a whole fucking subset of a special podcast where we just talk about music and talk about our experience with it yeah, that would be actually really good. If you guys are interested in that, I would love to do something like that. Just like a bonus.
It'd be a cool
episode.
podcast to do, like
just for the patrons, right? Yeah. It
would be interesting to do. I think we could definitely do a couple of episodes that were just like, music related. If we were to say something like, okay, well, this week we'll do, or this, like once a month we do an episode where it's like, we each pick like an album and we both like listen to it and then we just fucking talk about both albums on like an episode for a month. Like that, I could. That would be
do that as a patron
pretty,
exclusive, just
pretty
for the
fucking
patrons.
cool.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Yeah, I don't.
It has nothing to do with PlayStation, but I mean,
yeah, I have no idea if they would, if the patrons would even be interested in it because it is a fucking PlayStation podcast.
I just don't want to.
But at the same time, it's like,
but that'd be a cool idea. For
it would podcast. It would be, yeah.
Like we have fucking time to do that, though. All right,
the news.
Let's get to the news. News point number 1. I'm really sorry, listeners. That was longer than we normally are. But we're both a little sauced, I think. I don't know. At least I am.
Sorry, not sorry.
I've had a few
fucking
drinks.
Christmas time.
But we're just going to talk about video games now. First, we had mentioned the Final Fantasy Pixel Remastered. 1 through 6 were rated for the PS4. It has now been confirmed that 1 through 6 are releasing in the spring of 2023. And you'll be able to purchase them either separately as individual games or as a complete bundle. So that's kind of cool. I'm glad that's happening. I know, Jake, you said some people were upset about the art direction or whatever, but
yeah, I think they had some bugginess issues too, which is, I mean, whatever. Every fucking game has bugs now, but yeah, I think I said last week, I really would like to play 4. That was like the one that I really wanted to play, but since you could buy these individually, that's awesome. You don't have to buy all 6 of them, and I would definitely, and I don't think you've played it, Fred, but I would definitely recommend anyone who is remotely interested in JRPGs, if you haven't played it, play 6. It is so fucking good. Now, to be fair, I got all the way to the end of it and I could never beat Kefka's Tower. So I did not actually finish the game, but I got like, I don't know, fucking 9/10 of the way through it. So, and I just like watched the ending of it because I was just, it was to the point where I just didn't want to grind anymore.
Right. And
Kefka's Tower is just hard because you have to be like prepared before you go in, and I'm really, really bad about that. But anyway, this is cool. I'm really stoked about it.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. It's about time. Moving on to the next news point. The PlayStation Plus Essentials games leaked for January of 2023, and it looks very fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't know this. This is awesome.
So
sorry, I'm looking at the notes now.
It appears at the recording of this podcast, time of recording, we will be getting Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which I have not yet played. So wham bam, awesome. I won't have to buy that game. Axiom Verge 2, which is going to be dope. Yes. And then Fallout 76, which I've never tried. So that's a fucking great list.
So I guess Fallout 76 is pretty good now.
I've heard
our
that.
Worst. You know, and so I don't know that I'm gonna play it, but it is cool that it's available now. And I don't know, I'm curious if this, you know, if you have to buy, because there's a bunch of like packs and shit for it, and I don't know how much of, if any of it you have to pay for, or if it's all free with the game. I don't really know what's going on with Fallout 76 as far as this version of it, assuming this rumor is correct. And but I will say, so Axiom Verge 2, the first game was fucking awesome, and the second game kind of stealth launched. Like, I didn't even know that it was coming out on PlayStation, and then it just dropped, and I was like, okay, well, I haven't seen anything about this, but I loved the first game. So I am actually really stoked about that. And then we've actually just talked about this recently, I think even in the last episode, because we covered the VGAs, is that Jedi Fallen Order is a great fucking game. So it's probably in my personal opinion, it's probably the best Star Wars game since the first Force Unleashed game that I've played.
You didn't play Squadrons,
I will put a caveat on that. I did not play Squadrons, so I cannot comment on that. But in terms of like third person actiony kind of Star Wars game, it is so good. And I will admit, the combat is a little bit of a challenge at first. It's a little bit Soulsy, not in that like it's not as unapproachable as the Souls games are, but it has that like you've got to fucking learn the combat. It won't let you just like button mash your way through it. You just can't do that. You have to learn the enemies and you have to learn how to play the game. But it's not as hard as something like Dark Souls. And so especially because the new game is coming out, I highly recommend that everybody go out and play fucking Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. If you're interested in Star Wars, if you're not, don't worry about it. But it's very good. It's very good.
All right.
You play it.
I'm going to play it. It's on my list right next to Returnal and Stray.
What's so fucking funny about me gushing
I love the
game?
idea that you're like, I recommend everybody fucking play this game unless you're not into Star Wars. At that point, just don't worry about it.
Well, I mean,
it's probably good for non-Star Wars fans too. You probably don't need to know the lore.
I agree with you, but there are some people that are like vehemently opposed to Star Wars. Like, it's fucking nerdy. Like, I don't want anything to do with it. And it's like, okay, well, if you're one of those people, then, and I don't mean like those people. I just mean like if you are the type of person who just the idea of Star Wars holds no interest for you.
Right. If you're a fucking Trekkie,
then it's not going to be for. Then it's not going to be for you. Yeah. If you're a fucking loser, it's not going to be for you. Live long and prosper.
Yeah. That's Star Wars, right?
Anyway.
No, I'm just kidding. All right. Next news point is this is a good one. In a recent news article, Jake, on Push Square, they discuss how PlayStation sales haven't been very great in Japan for a long time. Sony recently announced that the shortage of consoles was resolved in Japan, and between December 12th and December 18th, Sony has sold over 70,000 new PlayStation 5s in Japan. This in turn is going to lead to more software sales in Japan as well, so this is great news for Sony. So in comparison, I think they said that the Switch sold like 117,000 what consoles or whatever in that time period, to give a little perspective. But 70,000 PS5s in 6 days, 7 days, not bad for Japan. So congratulations on the new PlayStation owners out that way. Any opinions, any kind of response to that little blurb? Do you care?
I mean, I always care when more people get their hands on the PS5 because it's a great console. I mean, I have some beef with my personal console, but I don't know if it's my TV or my PlayStation.
Uh-oh.
Other than that, it's just tiny sidebar. For whatever reason, my PlayStation, anytime I change applications on it, You know, like whenever you switch HDMI connections, it
like,
has to like
looks like it turns off
reactivate or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like anytime I change applications on my fucking PS5, sometimes it'll literally take a minute before my TV will reattach to the HDMI.
I don't like that.
And it's been like this for a fucking year and a half.
It's probably your TV.
It's probably my TV. I think it has something to, the problem nowadays is with all these things with like variable refresh rate, 120 hertz mode, HDR, all this shit. Like your TV has to be compatible with all of this shit. And if any of that stuff is out of sync, like the HDMI signal gets fucking weird.
Here, I have a great idea. Ready? I'm going to create an account with Limitless and be a PlayStation tech support. You put the question in, I'll answer it, and then you code it as resolved. And I'll get like $1.
You know what would be funny?
If we just did that back and forth?
Like, back and forth for like...
I don't know if
just be like...
that'd be so good.
How do I shut down my PlayStation 5?
Yeah, right. Just keep saying it's like Beavis and Butthead.
Anyway, no, 70,000 PS5s is nothing to sneeze at in Japan. Japan's a small market for PlayStation nowadays. Yeah. It sounds weird because Sony is a Japanese brand, but they're all about handhelds now.
Yeah. They
don't have the space for this fucking barge of a console sitting on their TV stand or whatever.
Fucking ream of paper sitting around, fucking 300.
Dude, it's bigger than a fucking ream of paper. You're talking about like, I don't know, a boat anchor or something. Yeah, it's so big. Anyway, well, that's cool though.
Yeah, this next news point is for Played by Ken personally. I just I think he probably cares about this. So I'm going to dedicate this one to longtime listener, longtime commenter and listener, Played by Ken. Happy birthday to Gran Turismo. As of today, it is now 25 years old. So, yeah, we're recording this. And, dude, do you remember when Subway had those promotions where, like, you could get, like, codes and then you put them on their website and then like you could win shit like PlayStation shit?
Yeah.
I won 2 copies of Gran Turismo 4 through Subway, like physical copies, and they were mailed to my house, both of them. I don't know how I got 2 and that's when it was brand new. It was awesome. I think I still have one shrink wrapped.
Was it Gran Turismo 4 or 5?
Oh, I thought it was 4.
It might have been 5 because that was PS3.
I don't remember, man. It's been a while, but how cool that I was lucky enough to win a game that I never played. I wasn't interested in that game. I tried to play it. I don't drive an Eagle Talon. I drive a Toyota Yaris hatchback. It looks like a roller skate. So I bought that car when it's been paid off for years, which is why I haven't swapped out when I was working like an hour away, just to save on gas years and years and years ago. And it's been running like a champ. So funny story is they have the Yaris in Gran Turismo. So I wanted to only race with the Yaris. And I didn't do very well. So I didn't make it very far.
It had to have been 5 because Gran Turismo 5 came out November 24th of 2010. I think that's about when you were doing that.
Yeah.
Because I remember you were like, you got to do this. And so I was like, putting all these freaking codes.
Well, they gave you like free codes to use every day. These fucking
I never really got anything out of it.
That's insane. I won 2 PlayStation 3 games.
Pretty cool.
They were worth like $60 at the time. So, anyways, diligence pays off, friends. But yeah, happy birthday, Gran Turismo. The new one looks good. It just I can't. I'm not that big into racing games, so I just it's one of those things where I don't think I would get my money's worth out of it. I want to love it, but
I feel like Sony, well, maybe not so much Sony as Polyphony Digital might be too proud to do this, but I would fucking love it if they would make a version of Gran Turismo that is more casual.
Gran Turismo Light.
Like Forza does with the Forza Motorsport versus Forza Horizon. The Horizon games are more arcadey. They're more casual. You can make them more difficult, more simmy and stuff with the menus and shit. But by default, they're much more of a casual kind of fun sort of mission based kind of open worldy romp, so more Need for Speedy kind of game. And dude, Forza Horizon's so fucking good. So like, but at the same, like, Gran Turismo is still the market leader in terms of sim racers. And if I know those guys are really hardcore, they're really proud, they probably don't want to do this. But if Sony were to say like, hey, let's take the technology of Gran Turismo 7, let's give it to another team that is that is passionate about racing,
and turn it into Need for Speed.
And let's make it more arcadey and give like a Gran Turismo, like you said, almost, I don't want to call it Gran Turismo Light because that makes it seem like a fucking mobile game or something. But like, dude, I'm all about it. I like Forza Horizon 5 was the first racing game that I really got into in like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. And it was just because they just did a great job of taking that sim formula and just dumbing it down for the layman.
All right.
It was so cool.
My proposition is give me, I don't have to pay for it. Give me a force feedback wheel with the pedals and the fucking clutch and the stick shift and fucking make this game VR. And then it's the only game I'll fucking play. That would be fucking rad. Playing a racing game like that in VR with like a fucking whole fucking thing, that'd be so rad.
I wonder if Played by Ken's probably listening. So, Played by Ken, do you have a full fucking cockpit when you play Gran Turismo?
I bet he does.
That's what I want to know.
Dude, he's probably got like the fucking chair.
He's got like the three monitor, like wide monitor setup with like.
He has to like wear sunglasses. It's so bright when he plays the game. It's just like all these fucking monitors shining on his face.
I'll be honest with you that like
Just messing with you.
There are simulators for superbike racing where they actually have like a motorcycle, an actual motorcycle that is hooked up to like the screen is in front of you and it's hooked up to like basically a sim racer like MotoGP or something like that, and the whole thing is on like a gravity assist thing where you can lean the bike over and all this shit and like use all the things. And it's like super realistic. If I had one of those things in my fucking house, that's all I would play. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd have,
but I can't.
But you'd hit the real track and you'd have like unearned courage. Like you would just like be fucking.
I'd probably kill myself.
Yeah, you would unstructure yourself on the course, man. Like, you would just become atoms. Yeah, it would be bad. All right. Anyways, let's get to the next one here. But I think it's awesome. The development for Dead Space. We talked about this briefly. It's complete. So EA Motive is finished with the remake. So that's just good news. And I think that like. It's always newsworthy to talk about when a developer confirms that the game is done, because it's not done until it's fucking done. And man, you know, you could have maybe a moment where like the director is like, nah, we got to go back to the drawing board. I played this thing through. It's not good. We got to push it back. They're saying it's done. So it's coming soon. It's not being pushed back. It's this is on my list because I never played the original Dead Space. I can't wait to try this. I don't know. That's all I got. Jake,
you've never played Dead Space?
No,
dude,
I missed it somehow. I was working really hard.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. In your position, I would just fucking wait for Dead Space. I wouldn't play Callisto Protocol, because Dead Space, in my opinion, is probably the best survival horror game ever made. But
did you play Alien Isolation? I'm just asking. I'm not saying it's the best one ever.
No, I wanted to play it until I found out it was like fucking 35 hours long.
Yeah, again, one of those games. Yeah.
I was just like, nah, I'm not doing this for 30. I'm not doing this for 30 hours.
Yeah, so good.
This is like one of those games where it's like I want it to because you're hiding and you're running and all that stuff. Like, imagine if what was that game? Red Barrels did it.
Outlast?
Yes. Imagine if Outlast was fucking 30 hours long.
It felt like it was.
I would want to kill myself. And that game was only like 6 or 7 hours long, and that was plenty long enough. No, it wasn't that long.
Time slowed down when I played that game because I was so stressed out.
But it's like Alien Isolation is one of those games where it's like, whoa, it's just too long. You're never going to get me. Like, I'm not even going to play it because I want to know that I can beat the game. And I know for a fucking fact I'm not going to play a game where I'm running and hiding for 30 hours. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to mark this on the timeline either, but I heard a rumor that they're working on another Alien game to follow up Isolation, which is awesome. Yeah. Hopefully they do it right. Anyways, let's move on to the next one, shall we? So, I'm almost hesitant not even talk about this because it's we don't need to talk about it, but I'm going to say it for the listeners because most of us will probably play God of War Ragnarok. They're giving this game a new Game Plus mode in spring of 2023. We will discuss more of this game on the spoiler cast. Let's move on. We don't need any more fucking God of War talk on this regular show. All right, so the next one is, in a not so surprising news story, that new controller that cost $200 that I accurately predicted, I think, the DualSense Edge gaming controller has been outed or ousted because it only has a shorter battery life than the DualSense, and the DualSense has a shorter battery life than the DualShock 4. I'm seeing a trend here. Anywho, I now have 3 PS5 controllers. One is fucking broken. One doesn't seem like the battery's lasting very long. And then I have a newer one that I use all the fucking time. Sony came out and said that the DualSense Edge Gaming Pro controller, whatever, the battery life has been shortened because they incorporated so many new features into this controller.
I mean, that's the thing, is I believe that, right?
I don't disbelieve it, but damn, like...
The Sense controller has all that haptic shit and all that stuff in it.
It's got underneath buttons.
The fucking adaptive triggers and all that shit. Like, I understand that the thing doesn't last as long, but I will say that, like, this just reaffirms for me that there's no fucking way I'm ever buying one of these controllers because
exactly.
I already think that the DualSense battery life is too short.
I agree.
So I cannot, in good faith, buy a $200 controller and have to charge it literally every day. I just can't do that.
Here's my problem. And to piggyback or donkey tail on what you're saying is, I don't know why I fucking said pin the tail on the donkey, piggyback, tail, whatever the fuck it is. Here's the thing. Think about this, Jake. We're going to soon be...
Think about it.
We're going to soon be PlayStation VR 2 owners. That USB-C port in the front. We're going to have our headset connected to that. We're going to need to be charging dual... whatever they are. What are those ones called for the VR?
The Sense, I think they're just called the Sense. No, the Sense.
It's not
VR
dual.
Sense
Maybe they're just like
controllers?
the PlayStation Sense controller. The Sense something.
I think they're just called. I think they're just called the Sense controllers.
They should just fucking call them the VR controllers. Anyways, the Sense. There's 2 of them. We're gonna need to be charging those. I didn't buy a docking station, so it's gonna be one at a time. And we're gonna
buy one of those.
We're gonna have to consistently be charging our DualSense controllers, and we're also gonna have to have the fucking headset plugged into the front port. I am right now becoming really concerned about the charging situation for all of these peripherals. I don't like it. I think I'm going to have to get a charging port.
Yeah, I just
they're $40, I think.
I just looked up the charging.
Is it
station
USB-C?
And I don't know.
Because that's where the headset has.
No, it plugs into the wall. It's got its own power cord, which is dope in my opinion.
That's what has to happen. That's
how my PS4 docking station was. is you just plugged it into the wall, didn't need the PlayStation at all. You just plug it into the wall, drop your shit on there.
Right, because I've got an external plugged in already, and I'm thinking like, fuck, man, you make me have 2 charging ports plugged into that thing, and then I got to plug the headset into that thing. Like, man, no way. So I'm gonna get that's what I'm doing. Anyways, that is relative to the news story. Anyhow, yeah, I'm not buying that controller. Now, if Sony could come up with the DualSense extra battery life controller and sell it for like $100, I would buy that. I would buy that so much faster than I'd buy like a gaming Sport Pro controller. If they're like, this controller is going to last twice as long before you need to recharge it for your PlayStation 5, and it's $30 more. If they could figure that fucking out, I would pay the extra for it.
Just have a big fucking battery pack on the back of it.
It weighs like 25. It weighs like, yeah, the weight of a baby. Now, I don't think babies weigh 25 pounds, but yeah, it weighs really heavy. Yeah, I don't know. I would pay for that. But yeah, so anyways, speaking of VR, Mr. Peters, this is kind of cool. We got our first glimpse of some VR2 physical box art, and this is making me nervous again. I'm starting to get like a little fidgety because I have an external that I can put all my PS4 games on and run it off the PS5. But recently I had to delete games in order to install Call of Duty Cold War, which I've now deleted the whole thing. I only wanted to play the campaign. That's done, gone. But that game was like 160 gigs or something. It was insane. So I want to have internal memory. I want to get an SSD. I want to get at least a terabyte, if not 2. Pop it in there and I don't have to worry about it. Because what I don't want to do is have a VR2 collection of games. Because when you buy these physical copies, not only do you have to put them in the fucking thing, but it's going to download the game anyways to your hard drive. And I want to have a catalog of VR2 games at the ready at all times. I don't want to have to re-download them. You know what I mean? Because VR2 games are kind of like, they're like, it's like the coffee book table. It's like the coffee table book about coffee tables. Book. Yes, got it. It's like that. So when you have people over, it's a great icebreaker. It's like, oh, check this shit out. Even though I'm not going to go in there and play like this game or that game all the time, I want to have them at the ready to show to my friends when they come over. So I want them installed, but I don't want them taking up the space. So I've got an issue on my hands, and you might as well. What are you going to do with your VR2 games? You going to leave them installed indefinitely?
So unlike you, I have hard drives or SSD space to spare. So because I don't have 2 fucking Call of Duty games installed,
I deleted
which is like
one.
half of your hard drive space.
Yeah.
So if I get to that point, I would consider having an SSD. The problem is that you can't put PS5 games on an external hard drive or SSD. You have to use the internal for PS5 games.
Right. So you can install the SSD internally. They have that slot. You can just slot one in, and it works.
Well, okay, yes. You could either replace the SSD that you could put the use the expansion port to put another SSD in there, but it has to be of a certain grade.
Right.
So you're looking at,
$200 easy for a
couple
terabyte,
$100
probably.
For a terabyte to put in there, maybe a couple terabytes.
And it's got to have the heat sink on it too, because you don't have to buy that shit separate.
Yeah. So, which, I mean, whatever, it's fine. I mean, the technology is there. It's good. It's coming down in price. It's only going to get cheaper over time. So I can definitely understand the idea of wanting to have certain VR games pre-installed for the occasion in which you might want to show it off or just kind of jump in and play a VR game every now and again. And sometimes, there are a lot of times where I kind of wanted to play VR, but first of all, I don't have a dongle for my PS5, and I would love to be able to just kind of do it. So I'm with you. I want to have a couple of games installed. The real question that I have, though, is when they're going to fucking announce Thumper 2. But other than that, yeah.
If they announce Thumper 2 for the VR2, is that a day one purchase for you?
Yeah, probably.
I think so.
As long as it's not like as long as it's not like a drastic change in scope or something like that, or not scope, but like a theme or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, like Thumper in terms of PSVR is kind of like Space Marine is for like a third person action game, where it's like nobody really talks about it anymore. Like it's not a thing that people talk about. But to me, it's like one of those games that just like revolutionized the way that I feel about a particular console.
I'm going to add on to what you're saying. Another game on VR that is never spoken about because it was also online VR was Wipeout, the VR collection. Like the Wipeout games in VR, insanity. It's like Mario Kart in VR with actual other people in VR. It was one of the coolest fucking things that happened that nobody knows about or ever talked about. Like the few of us who actually got in there and fucking played Wipeout together, it was insanity. Like looking over your shoulder in real life, seeing the car behind you, trying to pass you, and like just fucking doing that shit in real time on those rad Wipeout tracks with those really cool futuristic like racing machines with the weapons and the bombs and shit. So awesome. One of the best VR experiences I ever had, and I don't talk about that enough. Fantastic.
Wipeout is just kind of a dope game.
I wonder if Played by Ken has played the Wipeout series and what he thinks about it, because it's not like a simulator by any stretch, but it is a fun racing game.
Yeah, I mean the games on his list were all sim games, but I would be curious to know if he is interested in arcade racers at all too.
Yeah.
Because that is about as arcadey as it fucking gets.
Dude, let us know. But it's so fun. So fun. And speaking of VR2, one more thing. It's obvious to me, but the PSVR 2, Sony recently announced that it was designed with the PS5 in mind. A whole different team had been working on the VR2 while they were also, another team was working on the PS5. And this is in stark contrast to how the PSVR was developed, which felt like, I guess, what it'd feel like to make a pizza by cooking the toppings and then the crust later. So, like, they really fucked up the VR. He had to have that breakout box. He'd have all the extra cords. And then when they implemented it, you couldn't even watch shit in, like, 4K or HDMI or whatever. And you had to turn stuff off and find rerouting stuff. It was really a disaster. And Sony did indicate that from the very beginning on the PS5, that front USB-C port was put there specifically so it would be more compatible with the VR2 headset. So thank you, Sony, for thinking about that. Because could you imagine, like, if you had to plug it into the back of the unit, like how annoying that cord would be? Like, you'd always be pulling the PlayStation like at like 180 degrees, just yanking it sideways and shit on that weird stand. Could you be a fucking disaster? I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna have to. I mean, I'm really excited about PSVR 2. I have to say that. I'm super excited about it. But I am still skeptical about the staying power of this unit with me, because it has to be relatively convenient. Because if it's not, I'm going to fucking put that thing in a box, shove it in a corner in a closet somewhere, and I'm never going to use it.
And we're going to have a giveaway on the show.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I do that. I still have my PSVR, but
I joke.
I was always wondering what that maybe this is just me being what do you want to say, like kind of crotchety a little bit, but when we got that USB-C port on the front, I was like, what the fuck is that for? I don't got anything that plugs into that.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't have USB cords to do that. And, but here, like, it turns out that a lot of shit, plugs in with that kind of stuff now. But none of the stuff that I have plugs in with it.
Right.
So, I kind of assumed that this was going to be related to PSVR 2, but I'm glad that it's plugging into the front and not doing that shit with, like you were talking about with the PSVR, where it was like, it plugs into the back and the front and the side and the fucking, you got to sit the thing on there and dangle it by the power cord
at the same time.
Yeah, and plug it into the wall and all this shit. And it's like,
like
okay,
three fucking connectors for that thing. And let alone then the headset. Like, that was a fucking disaster. All right. Next news point. I'm cussing a lot on this show. I apologize. 'Tis the season, my friends. Huge January sale going on right now on the PSN. Make sure you get your stuff. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrected. $14.99 right now. The cheapest I've ever seen it. It's been on my wish list for a while. Game's going to be hard as shit, but I want to play it. And also, I believe the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection is on sale right now also.
Yo, Shredder's Revenge is on there too, which I already talked about on the show. Is fucking awesome. And another PS3, shout out to another PS3 game that's fucking amazing that I want to say is Castle Crashers Remastered is on there for like $7 right now. And that game is fucking lit. It is so awesome. Especially if you have like another player, like person that you want to sit and play couch co-op with or something like that. It is so fun. And I actually have it in my cart right now. I haven't purchased it yet, but I'm thinking about picking it up because, dude, I fucking love that game. I would love for them to make a sequel on PS5. It is such a cool game.
Do it, man.
I don't even know if Behemoth even exists still, but
yeah, I don't know.
It's a great game.
This news point is kind of relevant for me, only in that I wanted to talk about something. Paramount Plus is now available. So you can stream if you're a subscriber to Paramount Plus. They have the app now for the PS5. I use my PlayStation 5 literally for all of my media consumption. Everything.
Wait. Music?
You
use it for music?
No, I don't listen to music on my TV. So that's the only thing that I don't really do on the PS5. But I do use YouTube. I use Amazon Prime for my videos, for watching movies, whatever, content. I've got Netflix. We've got HBO. I use the PlayStation 5 for everything. We don't have a Paramount Plus subscription or whatever, but it is now available, which is nice. But what I wanted to say was I have started season 3 of Jack Ryan, and I'm using my PlayStation 5 to watch it, and it's on Amazon Prime. And it is John Krasinski from The Office, but he plays Jack Ryan. If you have not watched this series, it is very much like Wipeout or very much like Castle Crashers or a game that nobody really fucking talks about. This series is so good. It's so fantastic. I highly recommend Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime. That's all I got to say. I'm starting season 3. I'm on episode 2, and I can't wait to get back to it. That's all I got. He plays a great, I don't know, agent. He's so good. He's so fucking badass. Who would think that Jim from The Office would be a fucking like operator? I don't know. He pulls it off well. It's great.
Operator.
Stories are great. Anyways, Paramount Plus.
Help me place this call.
And last news point. And man, I feel like this podcast is not holding up to the quality that we normally have. I don't know why I feel that way. Maybe I'm just conscientious about things. But I want to take a moment, real quick. I put a quick Witcher video up on the YouTube channel, just like of me running through like a side mission. And I wanted to take a moment to give props to Share Factory Studio, which while I don't use it often, is very badass for making and uploading game videos on the fly. And it's completely free. And it has a pretty usable interface. And now on Share Factory, you have the option to insert your own music or audio from a USB drive. So you could technically do a voiceover, save it to a USB stick, take it to your PS5, import the audio, and use it as a second audio track, and make game review videos right on your fucking PS5 with no problem, probably. You can even upload, I believe, have custom transitions and thumbnails off of a USB drive. So you can literally do a lot of the fucking shit right there in Share Factory. And it's been a while since I've used it, but I tried to upload that Witcher video. And I was really impressed with what they've done with Share Factory. They don't really talk about it a lot, but it's super convenient. So it's probably obviously not the best way to do video editing for your games and stuff, but if you don't really give a shit as far as like you don't want like the best of the best quality of your uploads, and you really just want to put something out there for people to look at, and you're not trying to compete with like Digital Foundry or any like the really big fucking video podcasts that are on YouTube, then this is an awesome way to maybe get started in posting some video game content
I think, especially like reviews or like gameplay clips. So cool, good on Sony to have implemented this. Jake, have you used SharePlay at all lately? The factory Share Factory Studio. Sorry.
I honestly haven't used any of the video sharing stuff since PlayStation cut ties with Facebook, because that used to be the only thing that I would do is I would post things to my Facebook with it, because I don't know, I don't really use my YouTube channel at all for anything. So like I always thought it was kind of cool to be able to just post random videos on Facebook when something weird would happen. But they, there was an instance where their agreement, I guess, came to an end, and they couldn't figure out how they wanted to move forward. So since then, it's been, I don't know, when did Red Dead Redemption 2 come out? Because that was the last stuff.
It's been a minute,
so
yeah.
Probably fucking 3 or 4 years ago. That was, so I haven't really posted anything since then. I still save videos and pictures every now and again, but I will admit that the Share Factory is awesome. Like, as far as like a console-based video editing platform, it's about as good as you can expect. It works really well. So if you're one of those people that you want to share videos, but you don't want to do like a full-on external capture and like what I'll call a quote-unquote like manual video editing, where you're dropping it into an actual video editing software and doing all kinds of crazy shit, it's pretty fucking good. And the fact that they're letting you use whatever music you want on it now is really cool. And I am excited to see what comes out of it, because I'm sure you can make some pretty cool stuff with it.
Yeah, I'm tempted to do some more video stuff for the YouTube channel. The disappointing thing for me is that you can't tie your console to our YouTube account at the same time that I have mine tied to it. Right? You can't just be connected to the PS This Is Awesome account, because I'm already...
Yeah, it's weird. It bitches about it. Yeah, I've tried it. It bitches.
Because if we could both have it linked at the same time, we could constantly just be uploading cool shit and funny shit. But it's not that simple. So that's why everything on the YouTube account is pretty much me. Yeah. Anyways. But let's move on to new games. We didn't give any announced games coming this past week. So we're going to give you those real quick. Through the time of this recording, I will give you the most recently announced / released games on the PlayStation Network up through until today from the last week. December 19th, we had Mermaidio 3. December 20th, we had Pinball Heroes, Ridge Racer 2, and Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. Pinball Heroes is an old game that came out on the PS3, and a lot of the cabinets are PlayStation related, which is kind of cool if you're into pinball. December 21st, we had Grappling Dash. We had Hasheria Drifter, Car Drift Racing Simulator. We had Headbangers in Holiday Hell. And we had Mudness Off-Road. December 22nd, we had Arcade Archives Metal Hawk, Mia's Christmas 2, Atoko Cross, Pretty Boys Klondike Solitary. I don't know what the fuck that is. Sail Forth, Trivia Live, Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. And on December 23rd, Cyberpool, Emoji Kart Racer, Pure Chase 80s, and Survive, SURV1 V3.
If it was really Leet speak, it should have replaced the S with a 5. Just saying.
This is true.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Unless there's something significant about 1, 3, or 13 or whatever.
Oh, yeah, right. It could be like Friday the 13th, but survive with the 1, 3. Well, shit, man. It's been a long episode, but not really as long as the other ones. But I feel like we droned on a bit about shit that the listeners probably don't care about. But I think we have a good podcast, Jake, and I'm happy to be doing it with you. And this will be the last one of the year.
Well, I mean, we're probably going to do this spoiler cast for God of War. So,
but the last
probably be
the last official,
no,
right?
No.
You sure?
The next, if we record on Friday or Saturday, I mean, that's New Year's is not till Sunday. So
well, they release on Monday, so this is going to come out on the 26th. The next one will be on the 2nd of January. So
then you are correct. So I guess the people that are listening to this, if it comes out on Monday, I hope you had a good Christmas.
Yeah,
Santa brought you everything you ever wanted, or that box of coal that you didn't, And
to the patrons who get the show early, I hope you have a good Christmas. We're speaking to everybody now.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, man. I'm getting actually, I just all of a sudden got super fucking tired.
But you did a lot of talking, so I think,
dude,
you've exhausted yourself.
So, I mean, I've been doing a lot just to get ready for Christmas, between like family stuff and hosting my in-laws tomorrow and everything. And then work's been crazy. And then last night I had hockey and I didn't get to bed till fucking almost 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And I got up in the morning and immediately like started doing shit around the house all day. So I'm just fucking whomped. But Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas. And Merry Christmas to you, Jake. And I probably won't talk to you until after. But we're gonna record the God of War spoiler cast on Monday.
I will say one last thought, since we talked about music earlier. If you are listening to this podcast before Christmas, I mean, I guess even if you're listening to it after Christmas and you're one of those weirdos that likes to listen to Christmas music when it's not Christmas, my two, so I have what I would consider my favorite Christmas album. If you're talking about Christmas, like a album of Christmas music, in my opinion, my favorite is probably the soundtrack to Charlie Brown Christmas. So good. That jazz album is just fucking perfect in my opinion.
Okay.
If you want to look for a more pop themed but probably equally iconic Christmas album, the Beach Boys Christmas album is fucking lit. And if you want to talk about new Christmas albums that I personally consider are very good, is Paul Gilbert's album "'Twas." It's instrumental, but it's like fucking like shred, like 80s kind of, he was the lead guitarist for a band called Mr. Big. I don't know if like there was who that band was back in the day. Yep. They did that song "I'll Be There for You," all that shit. So he did last year release this album "'Twas," which is a instrumental Christmas album, and it's all like he bounces back and forth between like these 80s kind of shred stuff and blues and like this jazz stuff, and he kind of bounces around and he covers all these Christmas songs. It's super fucking good. Dude, I love Christmas music. It annoys the fuck out of me when they play it too early. Like if it's before Christmas, it's like fucking Halloween and Walmart's playing Christmas music. Drives me nuts. But when I'm like in the mode and I'm like putting up my Christmas tree and I've, whatever, I'm playing the music, man, there's nothing really that gets me going like some Christmas music. Nat King Cole's The Christmas Song, fucking perfect in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to throw that out there. If you're a Christmas song guy, if you're listening to this before Christmas, check out Charlie Brown Christmas, Beach Boys Christmas album, or "'Twas" by Paul Gilbert. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Or just turn it up now, because we're gonna play
'Tis the
This is
season.
the season.
Northwest Pennsylvania by Fred Oakman and The Flood, obviously. Jake and I co-wrote this song a long, long time ago, and then we reworked it. This is the last time it'll be on the podcast for another year, and I appreciate all the listens you guys give it. So turn it on up, and we will talk to you next year. Like Judgment, Just Dance, and Judas. P.S.
Yes.
This is awesome.
Awesome. It's weird that you put Judas on there, considering it like is not a game that's released yet.
Wow, we already know it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, true.
Take